I'd like to welcome you again to this talk. I'm Sarah Malanga from Malawi and the Southern Africa Coordinator for ShareScan Africa. I will be your host today. Yeah, we are happy to have you, Abigail. Abigael Simaloi will be our speaker today. Abigail is an agronomic engineer and an expert in human-wildlife coexistence. She has extensive experience in finding solutions in agricultural communities living in conflict with wildlife, especially elephants. She is also very passionate when it comes to women and the youth in helping them in conservation efforts. And today she will be sharing with us all her knowledge on crop selection as a tool in promoting the coexistence. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Abigail. Abigail, welcome. The stage is yours. And also to our audience, please feel free to write any questions, any comments in the chat. And at the end, we'll read your questions or we'll give you time to ask those questions. Thank you so much. Abigail.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and I hope all of you are doing well. Thank you very much for allowing me to share a little bit of my knowledge today. As you've been told, I'm Abigail Simaloi Pertet, and I'm from Kenya. So I'll be sharing my experience as a Kenyan conservationist. And today, as you can see, the topic, it's a tricky topic, but I'll share as from the work that I've been doing. I'm going to share so feel free to ask questions, and I'm sure I'll also learn from all of you because I know you are all coming from different parts of Africa and have been able to interact with wildlife. As you've been told, I'm currently working in an organization called Mara Elephant Project that protect mostly the elephants in the communities. And as we know the topic today, wildlife versus agriculture. And as I was thinking about this topic, the central thing about wildlife and agriculture as we discuss this topic is human beings. And we would like to understand how, as we human beings, benefit from both wildlife and agriculture. Where I come from, which is the Mara, which is one of the biggest national park in Kenya. We have one of the 7 wonders, they say. That is, we have the wild beast coming from Serengeti in Tanzania coming to Kenya. And so mostly you find we have so many tourists coming to Kenya throughout the year, especially at this moment. And one of the benefits of wildlife is tourism, where we find so many people coming to watch this wildlife. You just find someone paying really a lot of money just to come and watch an elephant, watch a giraffe, and we find so many people enjoying that. And as they do that, we have another important source of livelihood from wildlife, which is land leasing. In Kenya, we have what we call conservancies, and we have parks. Parks are managed by the national government, while conservancies or national government or county government manage the parks. It's like a national, it belongs to the government. While we have what we call conservancies, which is land that is being leased by communities so that we can conserve wildlife. So you have 150 acres of your land and you give it to someone to manage, and different people come together, so you can find over 10,000 acres or 10,000 people coming together just to give someone to manage a conservancy, and these conservancies will host camps or different organizations in it, and these people are being able to be paid monthly land lease. So you find that if I have a lot of doing with them, anything with them, I can be able to earn a monthly lease from it. So you find that people really now, and that is able to protect the wildlife, because now wildlife can roam easily within the conservancy. And as much as I'm not living there, I can be able to get a monthly stipend or a monthly salary from my land. Another way that we have wildlife improving livelihood is through community development. You find that most of the organizations that live in these conservation areas, or the tourists who are coming to be in this sector or in these areas, are able to fund different things. You can find them funding a school, or improving the school or a hospital. We've seen others doing water for the community so that people can access water, even roads, giving scholarship to students living in those communities. So you find that because of wildlife, people, livelihoods are improved. You find women being empowered through wildlife conservation. So you find that these people living in those communities appreciate this wildlife because they have something they get from it. They have a source of livelihood. You also have job creation. Most of these camps or touristic areas or land being leased, or even this wildlife, are protected by people living in this community. So you find the communities are protecting the wildlife because their children are getting a job, and they are able to appreciate wildlife because there is something they're gaining from that. And with that, you find that with communities that are having these first-hand benefits of wildlife, really they can protect this wildlife and they can coexist with them. And now we have agriculture. So what is our understanding of agriculture, especially in communities that are living in conservation areas? One of the, one way of agriculture is crop farming. I know all of you understand that, and maybe some of you are already doing that, and you know that agriculture is really important to a country. They say it's the backbone of the country economy, because there's nowhere we can do without food. And you find that most of the communities that are doing crop farming, especially here in Kenya, are communities that are living just by conservation areas. They're not in conservation areas, but they are just living by conservation areas. And they have the first-hand negative effect of wildlife. We'll discuss that much later. And then we have livestock farmers. The community I come from are the Maasai community of Kenya, and the Mara conservation area is in the Maasai community, and these people really love livestock. They keep large herds of livestock. Like, you can find one person who is having 1,500 acres of land, will have over 150 acres of land, will have over 1,500 heads of cows, without even mentioning the sheep. So you find that there is livestock farming in these communities, and it's one way of an agricultural way of life that can also can be a source of livelihood to these communities. We have ecotourism, where people are going to see different types of tourism and improving the ecosystem through that. And it's also a source of job. And there are people who just grow food for their consumption. So agriculture is a source of food. There are so many forms of agriculture that we'll not talk about, but these are some of the things that I've seen in these conservation areas that is happening. And how can this type of agriculture work with wildlife? Can they coexist? That is the question we have today. Despite having seen the importance of wildlife, and agriculture to the human or to the people or to the communities, there is a big challenge that we need to talk about. And this is what is bringing all the need of coexistence, because we have a population increase. We have, so here in the Mara, we have over, we have like a 1% increase of population every year due to people coming in, due to people having children. So you have a higher population every year. This higher population has a big impact on habitat. You find that people now are fencing their land. They want to secure their land, so they are fencing. So you find these wildlife do not have their corridors anymore. So you find there's a big issue when it comes to how these wildlife are going to live with these people, because as they are looking to live freely, they cannot go through their corridors to go where they want. You find through high population, we have people cutting down trees in the forest, where we have some wildlife living in a more, now they have to come down living with people, now coming down where people are. So you find there is a conflict. There is a conflict. So these habitat loss is causing a big problem, and that's why we have what you call human-wildlife conflict. One of the biggest human-wildlife conflicts that we have is crop raiding. And as I said before, the communities that are doing agriculture, who are living close to the conservation areas, they really have high human-wildlife conflict, mainly crop raiding. So you find, for example, I am a food enthusiast, food security enthusiast, because I am a farmer. But now I'm doing conservation to research on how these farmers can, I mean, I am pro-elephant, I will say. But how will I tell a farmer who within a night has lost 2 acres of his maize? Yet I want him to be food secure, but I also don't want him to kill this elephant. So there is a huge problem when it comes to conflict. Those are the challenges that farmers are passing through. And most of the times you find these farmers at the low, people with low income, people who cannot fight the system, people who cannot, who do not even know the processes to follow so that they can get a compensation. So with all that, there needs to be solutions. So I will explain a little bit of what I do. As a Coexistence project manager at Mara Elephant Project, one of the things that people are an important tool to coexist. Most of organizations or most of the people will talk about wildlife, but we'll only think about wildlife. We'll only think about an elephant. I will only think about a lion. But we will shadow the farmer, or will shadow the person living with that lion, or people living with those wildlife. So we understand that they need to be part and parcel of bringing coexistence into the conservation area. They need to be solution makers so that we can be able to coexist. So one of the things we do is crop selection. So we started a farm. It's a 5-acre piece of land. It's in the hotspot of elephants, knowing that an elephant will come in at night and eat my crops. So we've grown a number of crops. So we've grown over 150 different crops, and we are experimenting on this to see if what these wildlife don't eat. When we went to this area, we were only thinking, oh, we're just going to experiment on elephants. But we realized actually farmers have so many wildlife coming to their farms. It's close to a river, so we have hippos coming. We have vervet monkeys coming. We have insects. We have, birds. I grew sunflower And I thought I was going to harvest sunflower because no other bigger wildlife was eating sunflower, but the birds will not allow me to harvest it. So you realize that these farmers, if they have to coexist, it's not just a one-day activity. It requires a longer process. So we have all the data and we're trying to understand which of these crops are non-palatable to wildlife, but can as well give them value of their, it can make them to be economically resilient. So you find that we've grown over 45 crops, and more than 40 of these crops, actually more than 35 of these crops are eaten by wildlife in one way or the other. Because, as you see the first picture there, that's our piece of land. We have small plots. We've grown a crop 5 times. Just a scientific research. At the end, you find that an elephant will come through the plots, eat all the sweet potatoes, eat all the maize, eat all the edible, all crops that are edible to human beings. And then we realize, well, if we come and tell them grow the crops that are not eaten, which are mostly crops that are not also eaten by human beings, are these communities going to do that willingly? No, you have to make them part of the change. So we go to the community, ask them questions, we train them, we give them seedlings, we educate their children, we do kitchen garden training, because we realize, as you can see the last picture, we have a kitchen garden. And we realize that an elephant, I have had this kitchen garden for the last 3 years, but elephants will come and they will never enter into that kitchen garden. And you find that these women need to have food at their table. As much as you tell them grow a crop like rosemary, which is not being eaten by elephants or hippos, it will take a longer time for them to have food on the table, because they have to wait for the rosemary to grow. They have to wait for they have to take it to the market, sell it, go buy food. But if I train these women to grow a small, manageable kitchen garden in her home, and she will be able to save time to have a healthy food, to manage her own food, then that is coexistent to me. That will be able to appreciate. I will not just wake up and kill that wildlife because at least it's not affecting me directly. Are we together? So you find that these are some of the things we're doing, and we listen to the community members. We go to their home, ask them, are you able to grow? Are you willing to change from growing maize, which elephants really love, to growing rosemary or tea tree that may take a while for you to grow it? So we not only just grow the crops and welcome them to our demo farms to understand. We go to their homes, ask them questions, and train them. We train them to understand, okay, if you're growing tea tree, this is the amount of money you'll get from growing tea tree. This is the logistic of growing this crop that you will get from all these farming. So if you are able to get 1,000 shillings from growing tea tree, is that able to give you a sack of maize, so that you can be able to ensure that your children are still eating the maize that you want, despite the fact that you're not growing maize? Because you find that throughout this process, the community that I live in, people have to spend nights protecting their maize, but still elephants will come within one night and completely eat all those, raid the whole farm and clear it. And then you find that people will try to retaliate. You find that life is lost or an elephant is lost in the process. So there is need for coexistence. And I believe that coexistence is not, I wake up and now we are coexisting, or I wake up and now we are okay with a lion coming to eat 10 of our goats. We are also trying to help the community understand that there are processes. I know they are long processes, but when I came to this community, they didn't even understand that there's compensation. How do you do that compensation? What are the processes? You don't stay 3 days and then call the person to come and see that your farm was eaten by hippos. You wake up the next day, you call them, they come and fill up the papers. So with all this education and making sure that people understand the processes, then they appreciate that they have information, and the information is power to them. Then they start appreciating this wildlife. They start appreciating these wildlife, and they know they can get benefit from it. One day, someone told me, okay, though we are not getting firsthand benefit, we are not having a school built for us, but our women are learning something. So if they get something they can appreciate, then they are not going to be as hostile to this wildlife. So they can be able to start now appreciating. So the question comes in, can wildlife and agriculture coexist? It's not easy for wildlife and agriculture coexist if there is no benefit. If there is no benefit for a community, because I'll tell you for a fact, the community that I live in was very hostile before we came in, because there was no benefit for them. But once they start getting benefits, if their children get jobs through conservation, if they get food, because I mean, that's why people work hard. If there is a benefit, then they can be able to coexist. So number one, we have to create awareness. The community need to understand why, because I remember asking a lady, I mean, you build your house here and the elephant used to pass here every other time. Do you think it's wrong what you're doing? I mean, it's my land. I have to live here. So when we create awareness for everyone to understand that both of us have the right, the wildlife has the right to be in that place, and we as humans also have the right, but we humans have more responsibility because we understand. So how can we protect the wildlife as well as protect us? So creating awareness and training is really, really important. Also identify a clear border. By I mean, we are so, if we are working in conservation, mostly we like to protect the wildlife and forget the humans, who, as much as we say that they are responsible in spearing the elephant, they're responsible in killing the wildlife and reducing and poaching and all that, but they also have the right to be in that environment. So if we identify clear borders so that people cannot just go into conservation areas anyhow, then we will be able to, and also have rules and regulation for both the wildlife. I mean, if there's this story here in Kenya where if an elephant kills a person, we take so long to arrive. But if an elephant kills, I mean, if people kills an elephant, we have all the government agencies arriving within seconds. So if we are able to give every life the respect that they require, if we are able to carry them as important as the other, then we will be able to I mean, even the people living in those communities will be able to protect this wildlife, and they can be able to coexist. Importantly, equal benefit sharing. It is important, as I said before, that these people living in these communities have been custodians of this wildlife for a very, very long time. As we come in as new people, maybe just because I went to school somewhere else, and now I think I understand more about wildlife better than the person who has been living in that community or overshadowing these people. So if we give them equal benefits, the local communities will be able to take care and coexist with those wildlife. Agriculture is very wide, but the first part is for us as human beings, first to be able to coexist so that we can be able to know how can we get a livelihood and reduction of human settlement in conservation areas. So we say that for agriculture to coexist with wildlife, we need to have a collective responsibility. We as farmers need to be innovative. If I am a farmer, I need to be innovative. We've seen, I don't know if any of you have seen the tool book for coexisting with wildlife. I don't know if you've seen from Save the Elephant, where they give you different ways as a farmer. I mean, not only ways, but simple ways. They've put the elephant, they put the chili fences, having the what do you call, a fence using beehives. You have like the crop selection. So we have to innovate. It's no longer just that as the wildlife are improving themselves, because I mean, where an elephant wouldn't go through a chili fence, now they are going through that. I mean, there are so many ways we have to innovate so that we can be able to coexist with this wildlife. We've seen people putting lights in lions, so that lions cannot come into the corals at night, the livestock corals. So there is a way that we can coexist. So we have to be innovative. We have to research on ways. It's not a one-day thing. We have to continue researching. Right now, I'm researching on crops. Tomorrow, I'll wake up and an elephant can eat rosemary because there was a long drought. So it has to survive, and it starts eating the rosemary that I was so proud of to get to know that it's not being eaten for the last 3 years. So we have to continue researching, and researching meaning I cannot work alone. The stakeholders, the conservationists, the farmers, we have to work together because the wildlife are important to us. I mean, our communities are important to us. Without their livelihood, if it's agriculture, they cannot survive. And that's why we'll have them back coming to kill the wildlife for food, because we don't want to come together to find solutions. So research is really, really, really important. And the conservationists in the house have to really work on that. Diversifying. As farmers, I know that currently in Kenya, they are talking about carbon credits, where the number of cows, if you reduce the number of cows you have in conservation area, because the Maasais here are allowed to graze in conservation areas or in conservancies, which is part of their land. So if you find them diversifying, like they can be able to get carbon credits and still get the cows and be able to have their small kitchen garden, to diversify, or be able to have beehive fence where they can still have beehives, being able to add value even to your farming. Like if you have so many cows, if you want to innovate and have what do you call, the leather factory around this area, because one thing about a touristic area is that there's a wide market for so many things. We have Maasai women doing beadwork, and this beadwork being bought by tourists. So diversify so that we can be able, because if we are only going to focus on maize growing, then elephants love maize, hippos love maize, velvet monkey loves maize, insects love maize, diseases love maize. So as a farmer, you will always go at a loss. You will spend very many nights trying to protect your farm. So we have to diversify. And lastly, we have to coexist, to understand that both of us have the right to be in this habitat. So how, as an individual, as a farmer, what is my responsibility in protecting that elephant? Not that I feel I'm more important, or should the conservationists feel that the wildlife are more important. So we need to coexist, to understand that for us to continue having an impact, for wildlife to continue being at the same number, not reducing, we have to coexist, because all of us are important in this ecosystem. I think that's where I'll get to today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abigail. And I enjoyed your presentation. You know, last week, like I think a week ago, I was in Tanzania and I was able to see the Maasai. It was my first time seeing people living with their animals. Well, like wild animals are also just moving freely. And then I asked the guide, like, what do these people eat? Do they eat meat only? I was thinking, how do they grow their crops in this area where we have wild animals walking and everything? And your presentation just answered my questions, because I didn't go further asking, like, how does it happen? What happens to the food, to the crops if the wild animals come? But then your presentation has given me a good answer. Yeah, now I will open to the floor to the audience. If they have questions, please raise your hand, your virtual hands, or you can even raise your physical hand. I'll be able to see you and ask you to unmute and ask your question. Yes, Sierra, I can see you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Stella. Hi, Abigail. That was really the most fantastic talk, and you seem so passionate about this topic, which is really amazing. I would like to know a little bit more about your story. Like, were you always interested in conservation, or how did you get to where you are today?
Should I answer right away?
Yes, yeah, go for it. Thank you.
So I was born in Maasai land in Kajiado. That's a vast area. And we've grown seeing wildlife. And I grew from a family that's from a very low financial income. But I really had a heart of giving back to my community. And I love agriculture because I knew that is one way of my community being able to have food. Because I remember I started growing small foods in sacks and all that, just being able to feed my family and be able to ensure that they have food. But along the way, my mom used to burn charcoal. I don't know if you guys know, that's cutting of trees and selling of charcoal. And that really disturbed me so much, because I knew as much as it's a source of income for us, but again, I knew it was deforestation, because I was able to go to a school where I learned that that is a problem. That's a problem that, I mean, there's climate change coming. There's why are we having long drought, is because we don't have trees and all that. So from a young age, I came knowing that I want to protect our environment. I want to protect things that are around us. So when I got this job, I thought, now this is where I am able to merge these two, community and conservation, where I can protect the community. Because when I'm talking about elephant, I'm talking about their habitat. I'm talking about going to school, talking to children, about planting the trees, about biodiversity, about talking to women, talking to men, and just bringing everyone together, and all of us being part of the change that we want to see. So that's where like from the young age, I really knew that I love the environment and I want to protect it. Thank you.
That's amazing, Abigail. Well done, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, C. We have another hand from Diane. Diane, can you unmute and ask your question?
Yes, thank you so much, Sela. I love the presentation today. Thank you so much. It was really interesting. My question was about, can you please share some lot of local communities that have been done in terms of balancing the wildlife conservation with agriculture expansion from the stories or the organization that you have been working with? What have they been doing in terms of balancing wildlife conservation and agriculture expansion? Yes, thank you.
For Mara Elephant Project, we've been here only for 3 years, but an organization like Save the Elephant that has been there for a very long time in Kenya, it's in the Tsavo, that's a big national park that we have here in Kenya. They've been working with farmers, and that's where we have the toolkit, elephant toolkit, where we have different activities that farmers can do to expand, to continue with their agricultural activities while conserving the wildlife. So we find that farmers are now doing large-scale sunflower farming, and they are doing large-scale beehive fences where they can protect their crops but still get an income through that. And you find that animals like elephant can't go through, they cannot go through beehive fence. So you mostly in the lowlands of Kenya, that's in Mombasa, Suffolk, Cliff, you find that farmers have started continuing with their farming despite the huge conflict that they have with wildlife. So to me, that's stories that I think we can say that actually wildlife can coexist with agriculture. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Diane, for the question. And there is a question in the chat. I will read it, but then Marit, can you please help Milka to unmute? She's saying she can't unmute. As she helps Milka, I will read the question from Letitia, Dr. Letitia. She says, hello, Abigail. Thank you for the interesting presentation. What strategies do you find most effective to balance conservation efforts with the needs of the local communities? Abigail, would you please respond to that one?
Thank you very much, Letitia. So I think there's no one strategy, like there's no like one simple strategy, because communities are different, and I mean, even the wildlife that we have are different in different areas. But being able to appreciate the community and giving them benefits, like I mean, it's just like when we talk about a government being able to take care of its people, bringing the social amenities to them, like a good school, if they don't have water, bringing for them water, making for them good roads. If these people are able to have the social amenities, because I'm sure everyone is working hard in the community just to improve their personal life, but if we have social amenities where they can share this and know this is from, if we protect this wildlife, we can continue having these good social amenities. I think personally, that's one way I've seen here in the Masai Mara, people appreciating wildlife and people being able to lease their land for 100 years because they know their children will continue having better schools, they can access water, they can access good healthcare, they can access electricity. I mean, they have development in their communities because of wildlife. So to me, I think a good strategy for people working in conservation to be able to entice or to be able to to live with these communities, and these communities to be able to protect the wildlife is giving them the development benefits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Abigail. That was a good answer. Yeah. So I just want to check, Milka, are you able to unmute yourself now?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Abigail, for the good presentation. I think my question or comment is on transitioning from whether, okay, before we even talk about coexistence, most of the, I would call them farmers, have been giving up their land for conservation practice. And my question would be on just transition from agriculture to biodiversity conservation or wildlife. And we've seen that in my own knowledge, I think the conservancies in Kenya are not allowing for farming, large scale farming, that is maybe kitchen gardens and all that. And therefore, the question that I ask myself is there a just transition from letting farmers give up their crop farming from maybe wheat or tomatoes into biodiversity conservation? And are they reaping the same benefits as to when they were doing farming? Because that answers the question of if farmers are getting enough benefits, they are able to have food on their tables, take their kids to school, and therefore the issue of coexistence now will make more sense. And also in that aspect, the Kenyan government is increasing, I would call the conservation fees. For example, a foreigner currently is paying about $200 a day for visiting these game parks or whatever conservancies. So if we're making much more revenues through tourism, which most of the leases are dependent upon, why is there no gradual increase also to the communities in terms of benefits? So for me, I think, for example, you talked about demarcation. And if we're having zoning of areas where we can do agriculture and areas where we can protect wildlife, there wouldn't even be a question of whether we can coexist or not. Yeah. Thank you for the good presentation, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you too. I'm sure you sound Kenyan, so it will be easy. So you talk about transitioning, and most farmers are giving up on farming to just letting their land. Actually, one of the reasons why farmers are doing that is because of the conflict. Like, they don't have any other thing to do, because if I have grown my 2 acres of maize and I know that elephants or hippos or wildlife will come and eat, I don't have a choice. I'll end up giving up. So I'll end up I'll rather lease my land to get a monthly income from it, other than spending nights guarding my farm, and still at the end of the day, I might not have an harvest. So the transition is not because we are trying to make farmers to go through, to come and give up their land. It's because of the conflict. And you find that most of the farmers who are able, if I grow wheat, I know it will be eaten by I come from Mau area, and I've grown my 3 acres of wheat, and it was eaten by buffaloes and elephants, and I'm here saying elephants are good. So, and I'm able to, I don't know, like, I'm not going to grow it there next year, because I wouldn't want to lose just to get 3 bags of maize from 3 acres of wheat in 3 acres of land. So it's a sad reality that it's not because I'm being forced by the conflict to transition, and that's why I'm saying we need to diversify as farmers. We need to look for ways, because sometimes it's out of our control to be able to have wildlife and agriculture coexisting. So sometimes it's out of our, it's hard. So when you talk about you talked about the fee being increased, and if these things are going to communities, I think that's one of the biggest issues, we need to understand why is the fee increasing. And this year alone, Kenya tourism has gone really low. I think you'll be able to hear that after the end of this year, because I'm sure they will give that report because of the fee increase, because someone will say, why should I go to Kenya and pay $27 when I can go to Serengeti and pay way less for that, you know? And we have a big problem. But where does the community come in? You find that if we are increasing, there's always a percentage. When a visitor come and sleep in a tent, there's a percentage that go to community. So if, especially in conservancies, there's a percentage that go to the community. For every bed that is being used in a camp, that directly goes to the community. But again, we need to have organizations that have people at heart that want to help the communities, because without that, I mean, we will just be doing corporate, we'll be earning money and giving you a small school. Okay, we've done our best, but we need to have people who have the communities at heart so that they can really have a bigger change. I mean, I've seen an organization like the MEP Trust having water tanks of over 60,000 liters of water tanks for the community, and they don't have any direct benefit for themselves as an organization. And to me, that is an organization that has people at heart. I've seen them building a maternity unit in the Maral, I mean, because one person really was having a problem. She couldn't give birth and she had to be flown, but not everyone has the money or the capital to be able to be flown from the Mara to Nairobi to be able to have an emergency CS. So to me, if we have communities or people who have, I mean, if we have organizations and people who have the people of the community at heart, we can be able to direct so much benefits of this to the community. Yeah. I don't know if I've answered you.
Yeah, you did. So I was just emphasizing on the just transitions, whereby, for example, the nature finances that are currently or the climate finance that people are getting, because we understand these are arid and semi-arid lands in the region, are really keen in incentivizing farmers to go to these pathways of maybe wildlife conservations and all that. So yeah, thank you.
I'll also say, as I said before, like training and awareness for the community is really, really important, because I mean, I found people talking about the carbon credits in the community. They have no idea what that is. They're like, oh, these people from the US are coming, bringing things that we don't understand so that they can continue spoiling their places and taking our cows, you know, like awareness. And even for the community to be able to transition, there need to be really trainings and awareness so that they understand why is it important to preserve the biodiversity. I in my organization, I told my, I mean, we have a sector of rangers who are going to, they get people who are burning charcoal, who are cutting trees in the forest, and they take them to police cell and all that. They get them. But I'm telling them that is not a solution. We have to train these people. Why is it important not to cut that tree? Why is it important not to burn charcoal? I mean, we can't just be having an afterthought. Like, I mean, if we are not there to get them arrested, then they can cut the trees freely. But if we educate them and create awareness of the importance of why they should not be doing that, why the biodiversity, then the transition can come in easily and they can be able to understand. But if they don't understand, it will really be difficult for them to change. I mean, I know you understand the Maasai people. They are so close to their cows. If you tell them reduce cows so that we can have carbon credits, they are not going to do that. But if you tell them the importance and creating awareness, then we can coexist with that. As much as we have your 100 cows and not 1,000 doing your agriculture, but we are also protecting our environment. You can be able to get rainfall, and you can be able to, I mean, your 100 cows will be able to survive, other than losing 1,500 cows during a drought and starting from zero every 5 years, you know. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Milka. That was a good question. And thank you so much, Abigail. Your answer has just reminded me of a say which says, I can only conserve things that I love, and I can only love things that I understand and have been taught about. So what you're saying is right. Education is the key. Yeah. And going back to the chat, there is a question by Martin. Martin, can you please unmute and ask it? I don't know if he's still here. Okay, let me just read it out. I think it's a follow-up question from the answer that you gave, Diane. He's saying, what are the benefits? Ah, he's here, I can see him. Okay, you are muted.
For me, it's 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh.
I had a friend from Kenya 26 years ago, so it was interesting to hear Abigail about all these topics. And it was interesting to watch the hanging beehives. And I asked you, what are the benefits of having a hanging beehive in crop fields? And maybe it's not too much, but because in Mexico, we don't use hanging beehives. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Martin. And sorry for the for the late night, and thank you for being able to join at that hour. So the hanging beehives is a system that we are using to protect as a fence. So you have different, you have a number of beehives, and these beehives are put as a fence. So you have them hanging from one another. So when elephants come and they touch the wire or one of the lines connecting to one of the beehives, bees are able to come out, and the elephants really fear the sound of bees, so they are able to go back. So it's like a protective system to protect elephants from entering farms, and that will be able to give this farmer not only to protect his crops, but they can also be able to get honey or any of the beekeeping products that they can get from. So it's an added value to their farming. Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, thanks to you.
Thank you so much, Martin, for joining us all the way from Mexico and at a very odd hour. Thank you so much. We really appreciate. And yeah, is there any question from the audience? Okay. If there is no question, any other question, I would like to thank you, Abigail, for stepping in on the last minute after Matthews was not able to come in, but you stepped in and you've done a very good job, and we really appreciate, and we have learned a lot from you. And I would like to thank all the audiences for joining us from wherever you are. We really appreciate, and it was really good having you. And you are welcome to join our next talk. Yeah, thank you so much, and have a good day and a good morning to Martin. Thank you so much.